I immediately shrunk down to a smaller version of myself and thought, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to help this person. After they replied, I felt better, and when we got on the call, I felt amazing. This was the nicest, sweetest person I think I've talked to in ages. Welcome to Gentle Frog's Bookkeeping Lily Pad, your cozy corner of the podcasting world, where numbers tell a story and bookkeeping blossoms into an adventure. My name is Rachel Barnett, and I'm glad you're here. This podcast is for bookkeepers who enjoy authentic, unfiltered, and always encouraging friend to talk shop with. We will be discussing what it's like to own and operate a small bookkeeping business. So I had a funny situation where an intake form scared me. Really, I looked at the intake form and I thought, oh my gosh, I cannot help this person. It turns out that I could help, but I didn't know it at the time. I wanted to make this podcast episode to let you know that sometimes the intake form or the initial notes from the potential client, they're not always accurate. In my case, the client had a good sized paragraph to go with their intake form. The intake form included some jargon. It included references to a PEO, which I am familiar with, and factoring, which I'm only slightly familiar with, and wanted to talk about the payroll journal entry. When I looked at this, I wasn't entirely sure that I could help with the jargon part of it. It felt more like a CFO question. I definitely knew I couldn't help with factoring and sent a link to Seth David's factoring course. I am familiar with PEOs, but I couldn't figure out how that related to the question, and I definitely wasn't sure that I could get all this done in 15 minutes. I read the paragraph and thought, oh my gosh, it's going to take me 15 minutes to understand the backstory to then get to the question, and then I don't even know if I can answer the question. So I emailed the client immediately and I said, I saw your notes, wanted to let you know, out of the things that you've described here are the things I can help with, here are the things I can't help with, and I'm really not sure I can help you, and if I can't, I don't want to take your money. The client said, no, don't worry about all this extra information. What I really need help with is how to record a journal entry to record my payroll. I'm like, okay, this is something I can do. I can help with this. I'm going on my 6th year of providing one-on-one training with clients. I know that clients love to give me a backstory and make a word problem like we experienced in math class in school. I know there's going to be a lot of extra information that does not pertain to the actual problem, but in the moment of receiving this intake form, I immediately shrunk down to a smaller version of myself and thought, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to help this person. After they replied, I felt better, and when we got on the call, I felt amazing. This was the nicest, sweetest person I think I've talked to in ages. It turns out that by profession, they're a nurse, and they just happen to be doing the administrative stuff at the business. I'm so glad that I got a chance to talk to her instead of just declining the call, because her enthusiasm and her brightness and just her joy and the stuff that I taught her, it made my whole day better. The struggle the client was having was that they use a PEO, and the PEO deducted the money for payroll from something else. And when the client was recording her entries into QuickBooks, she didn't understand that the money was being deducted from sales. And so once I explained, hey, your sales are X dollars, you minus the payroll, and what's left is the money that goes in the bank, this is all you need to do for your journal entry, you're going to be just fine. She felt a million times better, and I felt fantastic because I could help. The reason that she called me or scheduled time with me is because she's a nurse running a business. What she's not is she's not a bookkeeper. I think it's helpful for me to remind myself, and maybe possibly helpful for me to remind you, when our clients contact us and they need help, they're contacting us because they don't know what they need. They just know something is wrong and they need help with it. They don't know which information is important and what information isn't. I feel like this is true when I go to the doctor's office. I want to share every thought I've ever had about anything that's ever felt funny. I want to talk about the foods that I've recently ate. I definitely want to spend time talking about the fitness class that I'm taking and how the hot yoga studio handed me a cold towel. My doctor's office is nice and they patiently nod, but really they're having to filter through all of this nonsense to get to the heart of why I'm there or why the appointment is happening or what we're going to talk about. The reverse is true when clients contact us. They have no idea what it is that we need to know, so they're going to share with us everything they can possibly think of that has anything to do with their accounting, their bookkeeping, their accounting software, their bank account, all of it. When the client fills out the intake form and you look at the description, you think, I can't help them because reasons X, Y, and Z, I would encourage you to take the discovery call anyhow. There's a strong chance that the client didn't know how to explain their problem. They didn't know how to explain what the issue was. all they know is something isn't right, they're looking to you for guidance. They're looking to you to say, all right, I hear that your car is making a funny noise when you turn the fan on. Let me go investigate. I'm generally good about taking all of the discovery calls that come in, even if I'm not 100% sure that I can help the person. I will often email them in advance and say, I don't know for sure I can help you. This is what I think you're asking. This is the stuff I can help with, and this is the stuff that I can't help with. If you want to proceed with the call, you're on my calendar, no problem. And if you don't, hey, that's totally fine too. I understand. The advantage of taking these discovery calls, or at least giving the client a chance to talk to you, even if you're not 100% sure you can help, is that you can identify what the problem really is. You might be able to solve the problem, or maybe you can refer the client elsewhere. I think that both you and the client are better off for having had a conversation. There definitely have been times over the years where I have a nice long conversation with the client, really get to understand their needs, and at the end I let them know that for reasons X, Y, and Z, I can't help them. But during the course of the phone call, I've taken notes, I've asked exploring questions, and I'm going to send them back a summary of what they need. They can take that summary to the next bookkeeper they speak with and have a more condensed and concise version of what their needs are. More often than not, I find that I get intimidated by the jargon and I think, oh my gosh, I can't help this person. What they want is something bigger or more complex than what I offer, because I've taken the words that they found on the internet and I've turned them into something else in my head, and then I made it more complex and more complicated than it really is. My takeaway is to let you know that every last one of us has moments where we feel intimidated and unsure, where we feel like we definitely shouldn't take that discovery call because they want someone better, smarter, different, more experienced, whatever the case is. There is benefit to taking the calls even if you're not sure that you can help. I hope this episode serves as a pep talk and just reminds you that you know more than you realize, that you can be helpful even when you don't think you can, and you can probably make someone's day by just taking the phone call and trying to help them. All right, thanks.